It's actual assault. But when it comes to these types of things, it can't be done in courtrooms. I understand that, but you got to understand the emotions that are there, and maybe just don't have them there. I don't know the solution to this, Jess.
Yeah, when I think about, people who have loved ones, I imagine if it was my family, right? I think it's not that we love retribution, we love violence, we love when people get hurt, but I do feel like a sense of justice and righteousness when this guy gets a punch in, and I really think it's empathy. It reminds me of that film, A Time to Kill, with McConaughey and Samuel L. Jackson and Sandra Bullock, where you have this man whose daughter was, brutally attacked, almost died, and he goes and kills the guys who did it. And he gets off on basically an insanity plea, because that's really what this kind of thing does to your brain. I can't imagine what kind of mental state I would be in if this happened to people that I love. And so I think it's really not a love of retribution or violence. It's just like empathy. Like if you're in this state of mind, I really do think you should be able to, shirk criminal charges because you're not thinking in a clear, rational state. I think you could probably be able to get off with an insanity plea here.
Yeah, well, I guess the one thing is they did sentence him to 7 days at the Hamilton County Justice Center, so he got 7 days for his attack. Understandable. You can't do it there because what if the guy is actually innocent in another situation? He's innocent and you're attacking people because you think it would happen. I understand it. I get it. Let's wrap up really fast, you guys. I think we can squeeze this last one, and this has been trying to get held for about a week. I'm glad you're here, Jessica, for this. Let's watch.
Guess what? You see my outfit? I got a ticket for indecent exposure in Winfield, Louisiana. Okay, indecent exposure. All of my bits are covered. Are you kidding me? At a family event where there's alcohol being literally handed out for free, and that's a family event, and 3 female cops came up to me and gave me a ticket. I live a mile down the road. They literally could have just been like, hey ma'am, could you put some clothes on? And I would have been like, yeah, cool, I'll be right back. But no, they stood there and gave me a ticket for indecent exposure. Are you kidding me?
Seems like they should be kidding. That woman named Casey is in Louisiana. She was cited for indecent exposure. She went into more details. Let's watch more.
Story time on my citation that I got yesterday for indecent exposure. For those of you that are like, it's blank, it's fake. I promise you, this is too stupid for me to make up, okay? It's not blank. It's just really, really light because she wrote like indecent exposure. Because she wrote really light on the top paper, it didn't go through like this, it looks blank, but I promise you it's there. So I went to this festival here in my little small town. It's like 90+ degrees, humidity is over 80%. It's hot. So I'm wearing a crop top and shorts. Hey, we're just sitting there enjoying the band. When I look over and I see 3 female cops walking my direction. Didn't think anything of it, I wasn't doing anything wrong. She goes, I'm gonna give you a citation. I ask her why. She does this, and she said, look at you. Okay, but why am I getting a citation? She said that I'm getting it for indecent exposure. So I decided to wear it. The first day I wear something revealing, I get cited for it. And in the state of Louisiana, indecent exposure is actually a felony offense.
It's a felony offense. Let's go with some details really fast because this is crazy. The Winfield Police Department was seemingly responding to Casey's TikTok post. Now, she put that on TikTok and got their attention. Now they say this. An unnamed citizen was cited for a city ordinance and has since taken to a popular social media site blasting police officers. However, 3 female officers responded to various complaints about the person's attire, and the person of interest was issued a citation under the city ordinance. On a local level, the ordinance is as follows. It shall be unlawful for any person to wear pants, trousers, shorts, skirts, dresses, or skirts, is it 1993, in any public space or places open to the public, which either intentionally exposes undergarments or intentionally exposes any portion of the pubic hair, cleft of buttocks, or genitals. That's as stated by a Facebook post from the Winfield Police Department. Jessica, you might not want to go down to who knows where, Louisiana, dressed like you may want to in the summertime.
It's hot out. It's pretty simple. It is hot out. I mean, you can be forced to carry a pregnancy to term. You're told what to wear. I mean, there's really limited freedoms for women in the United States right now. And when I think about what the cops are doing, they absolutely have better things to do. I am so sick of our police being used to enforce traditionalist conservative views, upholding state and capitalist power, imposing white supremacy. Like, go test rape kits. Why are you policing crop tops? I'm so sick of this. It's ridiculous.
Insanity. Again, all these things are connected. We talked again at the top. We talked about this reversal of Roe versus Wade. There is a constant mindset, and it pushes through the society and thought process is these women shouldn't have rights to do what they want. You saw what that woman was wearing. What does that do to a 7-year-old? Does he become a deviant? Does he start committing crimes? Does he start cussing? He probably already is because he sees life. But there's a billboard probably right behind her that has gore and violence or has something about ED medications and how men have to get their penises hard again. You'll see that everywhere. I've said it before on the show. I'll listen to ESPN Morning Sports Talk Radio with my 10-year-old kid on the way to school, and we hear more about penis enlargement, crooked penises, and things like that more than anything else. But if woman shows off a belly button and thighs, oh my God, they've been corrupted. It's insane. It's just
God bless America.
Straight up. God bless you guys for being here with me this entire week as I broadcast from the lockdown edition of Watchlist. Thank you, Jessica, for wrapping up the week with me. A horrific beginning to the weekend. We'll see what kind of fights can come from this. Appreciate you. You can catch her on Rebel HQ. You can also catch her on all the TYT shows when she pops up and lets you guys and blesses you with her presence. Up next is John Iadarola with the Damage Report. We'll see you guys on Monday.
Blessed be the fruit. We enter into another day of news. I'd been told time travel wasn't possible, and yet we all woke up in the 1950s. Nothing we can say is gonna make anything about today, serious or jokes, any better. But we're gonna do what we can do. I'm John Iadarola. This is the Damage Report. Brett Erlich, host of Happy Half Hour. How's it going? How are you doing?
You would think because my nads are on the outside, I wouldn't feel anything today because this kind of ruling doesn't affect me. But against all odds, given what conservatives tell you, basically that if it doesn't affect you, who cares? You got to have control over other people. Just repress and move on. It's still like making me tangibly upset today, and that is, I'm not alone, which I guess is a good thing. And round 3 begins.
Exactly. Yeah. I would argue that there's a lot of ways that it does affect people who can't become pregnant. And also at a fundamental level, we are humans, and it affects humans, and so it affects us. It's one of the worst days. It's not a surprise. I mean, it wasn't a surprise on May 2nd that this could happen, let alone on May 3rd. The fact that basically nothing was done between the leak of the SCOTUS ruling and it actually coming out. It's been 6 weeks. Nothing was done, literally nothing to stop this from happening. Some states did a little bit of stuff to maybe mitigate the effects for people who might live kind of close to a state border. That is the sort of stuff. We did a story on Wednesday, Anna and I, about how when sometimes there are small cracks in planes, they put special speed tape over it. And so that's the best that we can hope for. We cross our fingers in the wake of terrible news and hope for a little bit of legislative speed tape. That's it. There's no solutions. There's no engineers. There's no pilots. There's nothing. The plane is going down. We're aboard it, and it's not a democracy. So,
no.
With that said,
no.
What? Okay, briefly.
I know you're saying that for a reason, John. But in every great hero's journey, there are at least 3 encounters. And you don't win all of them. And you have your refusal to the call. A lot of people have been in that lately. You've had your first encounter and lost it for many, many years. Then a second encounter, and that was the Roe versus Wade case where there was a win. And this is just the third encounter where you lose something. And now it is time to regroup, fix it, and get that ending once and for all that makes sense. I hate everything about it. There needs to be some things about America that hold true in all parts of America. They don't want that. They want 2 different kinds of states of America. We want it united. We think that women should have the same rights in every state, and they don't.
Well, I think that in the most likely outcome is what you just said. But to be fair, I do think that they are perfectly okay with the same rights for people. I think they're perfectly happy to eventually strip them away from people living in blue states too. I think that if they can pass legislation, they will. And the fact that this ruling says, well, I mean, you can't read into this that we would ever ban it. Nobody would ever say that we would ban it. Well, you also said it was settled law, so stop lying to me. Can you at least stop lying to me? Like you're making us dig our own grave. Can you not lie to us while we do it? Anyway, we're gonna get into all this, obviously. And as I alluded to in the pre-show, Ana Kasparian will be joining us to do that. There was a bit of a timing thing. She's gonna be joining us after our first break. We've got important news to talk about before then. Obviously, it would be our preference to launch immediately into this talk, which is why we did it, by the way, without following the rundown. But that said, we will be talking about that in a little bit. There's a lot of other news to get to. Of course, it pales in comparison, of course, but we will be talking about all that. So to help people get the notifications, know that we're live, if you would hit the like button, that would be really appreciated. And with that, Brett, are you ready to launch into this?
Yes.
Yes. And again, apologies for anyone who just wants us to immediately start talking about this. We will very soon. There's other important news too.
And as I have demonstrated, I'm ill-equipped to give it the severity and gravitas that it deserves. And Anna is equipped in that respect. So out of respect,
that is how I would describe
it. Again.
That's not why you're the best, Brett. You're great. And I also want your opinion about it, and I hope that I get it. Okay, and I've gotten a little bit, but I want more. That said, let's jump into this.
Let's take a look at another one of your notes. You also noted that Mr. Rosen said to Mr. Trump, quote, DOJ can't and won't snap its fingers and change the outcome of the election. How did the president respond to that, sir?
He responded very quickly and said, essentially, that's not what I'm asking you to do. What I'm just asking you to do is just say it was corrupt and leave the rest to me and the Republican congressman.
So let's now put up the notes where you quote the president. As you're speaking to that, he said, the president said, just say the election was corrupt and leave the rest to me and the Republican congressman. So, Mr. Donahue, that's a direct quote from President Trump, correct?
That's an exact quote from the president, yes.
So that was fairly damning. I mean, one can speculate, what if Obama had said something to that effect about literally anything? What if Clinton? What if insert a Dem? That would be the end of the story. In the story that we're in, which is a horror story, I don't know that that will be enough. The clear indication from a reputable source that Donald Trump just wanted some sort of vague cover for his effort to overturn democracy, laid out in the clearest terms possible. That should be it. And Brett, I know that you were watching the coverage yesterday. I was doing live commentary. You were watching and commenting as well. I know that line stood out to you.
This is the smoking gun. This is it. And the reason that we know it was the smoking gun is if you look in every other piece of correspondence from people on the right and the Trump toadies and yes men who went along with literally everything he wanted, they go out of their way to bend over backwards to avoid saying that. And he doesn't have to say it explicitly, that I just want you to say it's corrupt. We'll see Mo Brooks saying like, oh, because the socialist, insane, fascist, Republicans, Democrats are so crazy and socialist. They put this fancy, crazy, convoluted, contorted rhetoric to avoid saying what Trump just revealed in the smoking gun contemporaneous notes evidence was his true motive and full knowledge that he was engaging in a conspiracy to end democracy in the United States of America knowingly. And knowingly is such a key element of this. The reason that I think this is a smoking gun is because I didn't have confidence that a moment like this would exist, but it does. And it is clear that he knew what he was doing was wrong. He knew there was no provable corruption in the 2020 election. And everyone who is pretending that this is just another day in DC is doing just that, pretending. There need to be alarm bells going off. There need to be sirens. There needs to be a huge uprising because Donald Trump has been caught outing himself as taking off the mask and saying, here's my true plan.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, it's as you said, this, like, if I am not as excited about this, it is not because I disagree at all that this is the smoking gun. I mean, it might be a little bit hard to tease out the smoke from this gun because there are so many smoking guns all lined up next to each other. But just that we live in dark times where things don't matter necessarily. But this is incredibly damning, incredibly damning. Like it is difficult to accept that we, like other countries throughout history, have leaders who do not give a damn about the system and just want power and are willing to do anything, including sending a mob of insane people to murder politicians of their party, the other party, everyone, basically cops, whoever gets in the way. That is scary. The added layer on top of it, though, the thing that is hard to accept is that there are tens of millions of Americans that are perfectly fine with that and do not care. But some of them might, hold on one sec. Some of them might actually believe the big lie. Many more of them, just they say that they believe it. They don't care. They're not interested in it. They do not care about who won the 2020 election. They want Trump in power. They don't care if overturning it means that our laws don't count for anything, our constitution doesn't count for anything. They don't care if people get assassinated along the way. Tens of millions of people are willing to line up behind this insane, violent, fascist takeover of our country in the same way that there have always been portions of populations willing to do that. We're not better in America. We're not better. It failed this time. It might well not fail next time, okay? We've seen it in other countries. Every one of the elements that made it possible in other countries throughout history is here. And our people are just as corrupt, just as craven, just as focused on unilateral power, democracy be damned.
There might be tens of millions of people who don't care, but there's 330 million people in America. There's more of us than them. For all of the Republicans who are looking around and saying that are in line with the decent folk whom I disagree with 99% of the time, that testified against Donald Trump and exposed his treasonous plot, for all of you, Republican is not an option anymore. That party is not an option. And this is a key moment to expose exactly what's going on. All those distractions, they just made your rights disappear. That's how these evil wizards are actually just magicians saying, over here, Bill Maher, cancel culture sucks, right? And here is now the culmination of a multi-decade plan to get Federalist Society stooges to take your rights away if you're a woman. Here is the culmination of a plan of bloodthirsty, power-hungry actors of Republicans to eliminate, while they're saying make America great again, they are eliminating America. It's a different day. This is another chapter. Everything that you were like, well, I don't know if it's gonna matter to these people anymore. Stop it. Sack up. Sack up. Do it. Move. Get out in the streets.
To me. Yeah, I agree.
I'm just saying, like, it's different today.
Yeah,
it's
no,
different.
I get it.
Wake up, everybody.
Hey.
Not you specifically, but there's a lot of people who are like, it's still so crazy. It's just another day in DC. No.
Oh yeah, no, I get it. And every member of Democratic leadership is exactly the person that you just described. Like this is this is indisputably one of the most important, consequential news days of our lives. And what should we do coming out of it? Organize harder. Vote again or whatever. Just accept and support the incumbents who won't do anything. They have a demonstrated track record. They're not going to protect you. They're not a shield. Just do that, but do that a little bit more. That's what they would have you do.
It's a full-on assault on not reason, but reasons. That's what they're doing. There's reasons that people have struggles. The Republicans would have you deny that. There's reasons that America works as it was originally promised. They're going to deny that. There's reasons that people have democracy in the world, that we should vote and our votes should yield who runs the country, and that our will should, and the reason for that is because we want the will of the people to eventually become law, as long as it doesn't jeopardize the rights of the minority. There's reasons, and they're destroying and trying to get you to ignore all those reasons.
It's a particularly rough. It's the combination of the stuff about January 6th and this. Like the stakes have been made clear in so many different areas simultaneously. I do want to let people know about a few other things. We have several different things I want to make sure that we cover. One is there was a lot of talk yesterday from officials in the DOJ about the plot to get this guy Clark in, who's just a toady. That's all. He's, as they said, he's incompetent. He can't run the DOJ. But to be fair, he was not going to be picked by, I believe it was the Freedom Caucus in the House or whatever. And Trump was totally cool with it. He was not being picked to lead the DOJ. He was being picked to say the election was corrupt. That's it. That's the only thing he was being picked for. They don't care about expertise because they don't want the government to function. They want it specifically not to function. His house has now been raided. Federal officials went in there. We don't know exactly what. We know that there was an early morning search on Wednesday, apparently, in conjunction or in connection with the overall investigation into what happened with the election, but we don't know exactly what they were looking for. It's possible devices. Maybe they were looking for communications. After all, many people have under the threat of some sort of criminal penalties that probably never come, handed in hard drives and phones and emails and all of that stuff, text messages. It's possible that he just didn't, but we don't know. We don't have any more details about that. We do know that that was, again, another big part, like the trying to choose him, like being willing to set fire to the DOJ to get a guy who will just say the election was corrupt. I mean, that's another smoking gun. Like, add that to the pile of smoking guns at this point. Anyway, also Ron Johnson, we talked about that earlier this week. He now says the fake electors he tried to give Pence came from GOP Representative Mike Kelly. Now he says he still didn't do anything wrong. This is just the person that he had referred to, some staffer at his office. It was just a staffer thing. He had nothing to do with it. Well, good. We are one step closer to identifying that pesky intern who implicated you in a plot to overturn democracy. You must be really excited, Ron Johnson, that we're getting a little bit closer to understanding who it is that needs to be thrown under the bus. Since you had nothing to do with it, you could soon clear your name with that intern. Anyway, why don't we move into the other big part of what happened yesterday, starting with this.
Did Marjorie Green contact you?
No, she didn't contact me about it. I heard that she had asked White House Counsel's Office for a pardon from Mr. Philbin, but I didn't frequently communicate with Ms. Green.
So Marjorie Green apparently did request a pardon, although in her defense, she was hardly alone in that. Through yesterday's testimony of a number of witnesses who were in a position to know, many people who tried in a variety of ways to overturn the 2020 election asked for, either directly or indirectly, pardons for anything that they might have done. Now, Marjorie Green responds by saying I heard means you don't know. Spreading gossip and lies is exactly what the January 6th Capitol Witch, Capitol Hunt Committee is all about. So she's implying that it's not true. To be fair, she's not saying that it's not true. She's not actually directly claiming that she didn't do that, which seems, I don't know, that seems like something. And I do want to give her a little bit of credit for attaching the actual video, because in that video, not only do you hear this person saying that they know that this is something that Marjorie Green did, but if you watch the video again, there's a little look on her face that says everything about what even Republicans think about having to talk to Marjorie Green. So she was implicated, Matt Gaetz was implicated, many people were implicated. Matt Gaetz, by the way, also tweeted in response to this coming out, the January 6th committee is an unconstitutional political sideshow. It is rapidly losing the interest of the American people and now resorts to sicking federal law enforcement on political opponents. And I love that quote. It is rapidly losing the interest, he said wishful thinkingly. Like clearly he was paying attention because he felt like he had to do some damage control in real time, Brett.
They all know what they did was terribly wrong. They all know it. That's why they're asking for pardons preemptively. And as you find out during the hearing itself, not even the Nixon pardon was this carte blanche as it was asked for by, as you're about to tell us, Mo Brooks and friends. Mo Brooks is like, yeah, they asked me to do this.
Yeah, 100%. Well, why don't we go to that? Because Mo Brooks was sort of implicated, and he had been hinting ever since it was announced that he lost his primary that he would be cooperating, which so much credit to him, waiting at this late date to finally do something. Well, he sent this, I believe he sent it to CBS News, I think. He sent this letter talking about a request for pardon from Matt Gaetz. And look, all of this, yeah, CBS News, Robert Costa. Thank you, Sophie, I appreciate that. They cloak all of this. The reason they would need to ask for a pardon, saying it is clear that deep-pocketed and vitriolic socialist Democrats, those don't exist in elected office, are going to abuse America's judicial system. So that's why it's needed. We need, he says, the president to give general all-purpose pardons to the following groups of people: every Republican who signed the amicus brief in the Texas lawsuit, every congressman and senator who voted to reject the Electoral College vote submissions of Arizona and Pennsylvania. America simply cannot permit socialist Democrats to abuse freedom of speech and blah, blah, blah. Thank you for your consideration, Mo Brooks, sent from my iPad. So when they come for democracy, they're gonna come in a cringing way. But the funny thing for Matt Gaetz, of course, is that would he, like many, want a pardon for what he did in regards to January 6th? Yes. But they did say all-purpose pardons. And I feel like Matt Gaetz might have a special interest in a broader pardon beyond just January 6th in the election, Brett.
Yeah, they're begging his pardon. And I picture the all-purpose pardons is like, I don't know if they still do that, but like the Safeway Select version, just like the generic ass. It's trying to be like a name brand pardon, but they don't have it's just kind of crappy.
Yeah.
Like the old days, there used to be just like one with a blue stripe that just said flour, and you would just be like, all right, it's flour. I hope it's actually flour.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. It's such a nightmare. They all know what they did was wrong. They know that, and it all goes back to Trump's admission that no one can gloss over into another news cycle. There are two important things happening in America. One is the taking away of your reproductive rights, no matter who you are in America. And the other is Donald Trump knowingly wanted to overturn the election in 2020, put together a conspiracy of dunces to do so. The gang that couldn't shoot straight, that went and is so wrong about everything and doesn't care about anything, to the extent that they held a press conference at the Four Seasons landscaping company.
Yeah.
They are so bad that every deputy attorney general or whoever it was, the entire Justice Department was gonna resign if they went through with it. And we can't let them forget that. They're gonna try to gerrymander America up into these little things where it's like, well, you believe in this, don't you? You want tax cuts, rich guy. So vote Republican still, despite taking away rights, despite making it so that there is no democracy in America. Oh, but you like reproductive rights, even though there is not gonna be democracy. You don't like reproductive rights and freedom of choice when you're having a kid or not. But sorry, ladies, you do want something, I don't know, that the Republicans are offering you, dangling a carrot out there. No, they are against America as we know it. They are trying to create a country that's okay for them and not okay for anyone who's remotely unlike them. And we have to stop it.
100%. Okay, with that, we're gonna go to our first break. When we come back, Ana Kasparian is gonna be joining us for one block to break down what's going on with the SCOTUS and reproductive rights and the rights that you used to have and you don't anymore. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Brett, you remain the best. And I can't tell you how excited I am for your return a little bit later on to the show.
Great. Probably should have gone to an ADI or something, guys.
It's not about, no, I want people to know how much I appreciate you. It's not about gravitas. It's just, Anna's, it's TYT. I wanted her to have a chance to say something, obviously.
Hey, we're in a social break, Anna.
So anyway, I'm gonna read
some on screen yet. John's gonna talk for a while and then we're
not going to. I'm gonna read some comments. I just wanted Brett to know how valued he was.
Are you guys silencing me right now? On this day, you guys are silencing me?
There's no way to separate the audio on the Skype so that you are silenced. So no, that's going out over program.
See, I was just gonna say one nice thing to Brett and then start reading comments, and that has become impossible because it's chaos up in this call. Anyway, Brett, you're the best. Okay, I'm gonna read some comments as we get everything situated for the great Ana Kasparian's appearance on the show. Leakar88, welcome to Tier 1 membership over on YouTube. Thank you for joining us, especially today. John Jackson is a Tier 2 member for 16 months now, actually. Says, can I get a birthday shout out? I'm sorry, I just don't have time. Daniel kidding, happy birthday. Daniel Velasquez, member for 11 months, says, well, I know the D block might be cut, today's news. No, actually, interestingly enough, we completely cut out our C block. So D block will be coming up a little bit sooner than usual, perhaps. Stars View has been a member for 19 months, says actually 18 months. Can we change the choices for garbage today? Supreme Court wins the honor. It does. It's just a thing with garbage people that it's generally not the actual worst people, particularly today. I need to lighten things up. So spoiler alert, it's not gonna be my garbage person. Or 6 garbage people. Progressive Canuck says in a super chat, so does this mean we get to restrict their rights in terms of not getting vaccinated, take away bodily autonomy for some, so why can't we do it for all then? Nothing but hypocrisy. Well, nothing but hypocrisy is what I would title this chapter in American history. I do agree. So no, what you said makes perfect sense, but no, they will not be switching things up on that. There is not a lot of mental strength on the right, but there is mental flexibility, and they can hold many conflicting directly contradictory opinions. My money to building said to a super chat to say, take a break, y'all. I'm gonna braid a friend's hair, paint Warriors pictures, write and smoke a lot of tree and drink a lot of free drink. That's all. That sounds like a very busy full day. I like it. I like it. Melissa A says, having cis white straight men fighting for women is incredibly important. Thank you. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you for watching as well. We do appreciate you being here. Shar Thompson says, I live in Louisiana. Had an appointment to get my IUD checked today, but I'm too scared to go as I could be tried for murder under the law today. I am assuming that with that particular thing, you would probably be fine, but who knows what rights you'll have by the time you get there? Who knows what rights you'll have on Monday? I don't know. We have Independence Day coming up soon, but you are not independent from the state when it comes to control of your body. Morning Demon over on Twitch has been with us for 25 months. Jesus says, I wish this day would be a better one. All we can do is fight for a better world. Agree, we can continue that. That's all that we've been trying to do. Key John, similarly, 25 months says, 25 months on such a dark day. I'm sorry for everyone in the US. Still all the best from Berlin. We think of you. Thank you. Marina's been with us for 9 months on Twitch says, thank you for all you do. I leave you with my first thought of the day. Dear Supreme Court and conservative politicians, I can't say the rest of that. We would require some live censoring, but thank you for the thought. I do appreciate that. Let's see, finally, over the member section, Jess B. Anti-Racist says, Susan Collins, quote, this decision is inconsistent with what Justices Gorsuch and Kavanaugh said in their testimony and their meetings with me. It's not as if you really believe them anyway. Wait, that cannot be an actual quote. She cannot be speaking today. Okay, we're gonna look that up, but thank you for the comment. Okay, with that. And we return from our break with Ana Kasparian of the Young Turks. Ana, thank you for joining us today.
What's up, John? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I mean, it's the worst possible day for us to be talking about the news, but we are of course glad to have you here for it. And with that, why don't we launch into the only story that really matters today?
Yeah.
I'm gonna. Yeah, no.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna do my thing. Thank you. We've known for some time that this was coming, and I don't just mean a month and a half ago when the Supreme Court leaked a draft of their plot to destroy Roe v. Wade came out. We've known for some time that this is what the right wanted to do. This is what Trump was choosing justices for as of today. In many states already, your reproductive rights are gone. They have been completely destroyed, and there's every reason to believe that it is only gonna get worse from here. So I want to show you the section that matters from this decision. Held, the Constitution does not confer a right to abortion. Roe and Casey are overruled, and the authority to regulate abortion is returned to the people and their elected representatives. Joining Justice Alito were Justices Clarence Thomas, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. So, the six, the supermajority of Republicans, the three that Trump put on the court, and it's gone now. That's it. And the justices on the liberal side have a dissent, and it's good and it's well thought out. And the majority opinion makes no sense internally. It makes no sense in connection to what those individual justices have said before about the law, about precedent, about how settled Roe itself was. It makes no sense whatsoever. The only thing that makes sense is that they have the numbers, and that's all that matters. This is not about originalism. This is not about some sort of raw judicial analysis of the Constitution. They wanted to take away these rights. They got enough people on the court to do it, and so they've taken away the rights. And there's a lot of aspects of this that we're going to talk about and break down, but what are you thinking this morning?
I mean, there's so many thoughts. I can't help but be infuriated by all the missed opportunities from the Democratic Party, including the fact that Barack Obama could have codified Roe v. Wade through legislation when he had a supermajority in Congress during the first 2 years of his term. And obviously, and inevitably, those who run cover for them love to argue that there were blue dog Democrats and conservative Democrats that wouldn't have codified Roe v. Wade, which I'm so sick of that excuse. Politics isn't just about carrots, it's also about sticks. And at some point, Democrats lost the plot and just completely stopped using hard politics to sway members of their own side to do the right thing. I mean, when you think about what was accomplished under LBJ with the Civil Rights Act, the majority of lawmakers were not on board for that. And if you read about the kind of tactics and maneuvering he implemented to get it done, you'll understand that the Democrats, with the slim majority that they have now, could actually wield that power to protect our rights, but will fail to do so. The other thing that I'm thinking about is the speech that President Joe Biden gave in response to this reversal of Roe v. Wade. It was more of the same. Calls for Congress to codify Roe v. Wade without calling for an end to the legislative filibuster in the Senate, which effectively makes it impossible to get anything done. Then he talks about how, well, we're gonna make sure that we can do what we can in the executive branch by protecting women who travel to other states to get an abortion. But his power in that regard is pretty limited, right? So let's see what's gonna happen with these right-wing individuals who want a theology rather than want to force their theology on us rather than allow us to live in a country that's supposed to be about freedom and individual liberty and the ability to make decisions about our own health, our own lives, our own bodies. And I'm also worried about women who live in states that have legalized abortion, because there will be a flood of women coming into those states. And women in the states that have it already legalized, they're gonna probably deal with long wait times. Obviously, time is of the essence when it comes to abortion. There's just a lot to worry about right now. And I'm trying to take in what it all means and what we can do to respond to it effectively. But one thing that I will say is, please don't donate money to the Democratic Party. Right, like just don't. Look up organizations that are providing aid to women who are seeking abortions. I think that your money will be better spent there rather than fundraising for the Democratic Party. Oh, and one other thing, Biden says, just elect more of us. Elect more of us. We haven't accomplished what we said we would accomplish, but elect more of us. Okay, good luck with that messaging. It's not gonna work.
Yeah, elect more to do what? What have they done? What have they been just passionately waiting to do? What have they done? Elect who? Should we?
Reproductive rights, politicians who have an anti-reproductive rights ideology, like Henry Cuellar, they've been doing.
Yeah, is that? Should we elect more Democrats like that? Should we? You had an opportunity. It literally could not have been like a better presented challenge to them. The May 3rd, the draft comes out. They're gonna kill Roe v. Wade. There's a primary. You can have in an area that is going to elect a Democrat, you can have an awesome pro-choice, young representative Democrat. You can have one of the most conservative ones. I'm not even saying that Nancy Pelosi should have gone and stumped for Cisneros. She could have just stayed out. She could have just let the district decide. No, in this moment where everyone in the country was focused on the future of reproductive rights, she and others in Democratic leadership felt we have to weigh in. We have to use our time and our platform and our voice to make sure that we keep in office a guy who wants to strip these rights away. That's what they chose to do. And they did that in this case. The only reason they haven't done that in more cases is because thankfully there aren't that many Democratic incumbents anymore that have these positions. But if there were, you could bet your ass Nancy Pelosi would be fighting for them. And if it comes down in future primaries where you have a good progressive and you have a centrist Democrat who, sure, they don't think that you have any fundamental rights. They don't care about your fundamental humanity, but they'll help to stop the corporate tax rate from going up. Then they will weigh in again and they will put into office more centrists. They agree with on most issues and also believe that these rights shouldn't be enshrined in law. That's what they'll do. And so we're gonna turn to other aspects of this, but maybe this is the least useful part of this conversation, but we have to identify who failed us if we're gonna have any hope of fixing this situation in the course of the rest of our lives. It's gonna be difficult, it's gonna be a lifelong fight because taking over the Supreme Court takes so long. But we have been failed by so many people. Anna, you rightfully pointed out so many of them. Joe Biden did nothing, even after the draft came out, did basically nothing. Obama and the Democrats did nothing. They didn't, and I'm not even saying just in codifying Roe into law. They obviously didn't prioritize the Supreme Court in the years that they had. As many people have pointed out, 6 conservative justices voted to strip you of your rights. 5 of them were put into office by Republican presidents who lost the popular vote. And when the Democrats won the popular vote, they just sort of allowed, like Merrick Garland, hey, maybe we get him on the court, maybe we don't. What are you gonna do? We have to respect the norms and everything, because the Republicans surely would, up until they get a chance to put a Christian zealot on the court in the form of Amy Coney Barrett, which they did a couple of weeks before the election. And so we've been failed by so many people. In 2016, we were failed by the people who told you not even to think about the Supreme Court. Don't worry about it. It's totally cool to have a little bit of fascism for a few years. There's no long-term consequences or anything. We have been failed by so many different people. And everyone wants to point the finger at like one person or one group or one election and say that's why. And conveniently, blaming that person always elevates them into a position of superiority, but there is a lot of blame to go around, and we are not gonna fix this until we understand all of the different groups and people that failed us so that we can get them out of positions of power and influence.
Yeah, I think the important takeaway is the right wing in America tells us who they are every day. They don't hide it. They don't hide anything. They don't hide their strategy. They don't hide what their agenda is. They don't hide how vicious they are. And they carry it all out, and they do it breathlessly without any real significant and substantive pushback from the party that's supposed to serve as the opposition. The party that loves to campaign on these social issues as if they genuinely care about it, as if they're gonna protect various groups of people, whether it be Black individuals who have been persecuted by cops in this country. They love to campaign on police reform, but they won't do it. They'll give it up. They love to talk about the importance of protecting our democracy, but they won't fight for a voting rights bill. Yeah. All these convenient excuses, always all these convenient excuses. And then once they start ramping up for re-election again, well, the reason why we failed is because there aren't enough of these failures in Congress to fail along with us. Okay, if Democrats think they're going to save themselves in the midterms by fundraising and campaigning on this issue, they are sadly mistaken. Like, I know it sounds conspiratorial, but the messaging I heard from Biden in that speech today was, this is our campaign strategy leading up to the midterms.
Well, look, I might.
They think that this is like a gift handed to them because of how terrible his approval ratings are, because of how little they've done, because of how enraged people are over things that, for the most part, Biden doesn't have control over, things like inflation. But at the end of the day, people are gonna be looking out for their pocketbooks before they look out for reproductive rights in this country, unfortunately. So I don't know how this is gonna play out, but it doesn't look good for Democrats, and quite frankly, they deserve it.
I don't know that I necessarily agree in terms of how it'll affect the midterms. I do know that it doesn't matter in terms of this issue, whether the Democrats win or lose. Like, okay, sure, if they win, it maybe stops the Republicans from getting in a position where they can pass, bills that Biden would have to veto. But it doesn't mean that if you keep them in power, they will reverse this in any substantive way. And so they will use it for their political interest. They will definitely use it to raise money at the very least, but that is not a solution to this problem. That's the big issue, I think. Now, I want to turn to, now that Roe v. Wade has been killed, what happens from here? Well, we have immediate things to talk about, and then we have longer term things to talk about. And apologies to the director, I'm gonna jump around just a little bit for time, but I want to jump ahead to graphic 9. Many of you watching this live in states where it's already illegal. It's already illegal because in like this one area, they have crafted legislation, the Republicans, to make it so that when the conservative supermajority in the Supreme Court did what they were going to do, these trigger laws would activate. And so in the yellow states there, it's already banned. It's banned, it's gone. Some of the details might differ from state to state, but you went to sleep with rights, you woke up, they're gone. It's now illegal, you do not have control of your body. Your womb is the property of the state. They will regulate it. They will regulate nothing else under the Republicans. No businesses or anything. Those are holy. They're not gonna regulate your guns. You have a fundamental right to that. But your womb, that is now the property of whoever happens to be in charge. Your rights are now up to whoever has the majority in the Supreme Court. Now, there are areas where your right to an abortion has been codified. You can see those blue states on that chart. We happen to live in one. We're lucky enough to have that, but there's also a huge number of states where we don't know. We're uncertain about what's gonna happen. A lot of those states have Republican legislatures. So the number of yellow states on that map those will go up in the near future. You could expect that. And if you take a look at this next chart, you can see that 25.5 million women of reproductive age live in states where it is either already totally banned or effectively outlawed. In fact, it's almost the exact number of women or people who can get pregnant who live in states where it's actually technically legal. So that's fun. And that's right now. Where do we go from here in the next few months, the next few years? Well, anywhere. Because the right is not going to be satisfied with this. They still need to keep their base blind with rage. So what will they come for? Well, conveniently, the decision actually implies a few of the next potential areas. Clarence Thomas, for instance, says, in future cases, we should reconsider all of this court's substantive due process precedents, including Griswold, Lawrence, Oberfell as well. Because any substantive due process decision is demonstrably erroneous, we have a duty to correct the error. Well, what does that mean? Well, he's referring to little things, little areas of rights, like your right to contraception, to birth control, to condoms, to IUDs, things like that. Lawrence is the right to sex acts that they don't like. So same-sex sex acts, those sorts of things, those could be outlawed in many states again soon. Also the right to same-sex marriage. Now you'll note that Clarence Thomas chooses not to talk about the potential illegality of interracial marriage there, even though its constitutionality has rested for many decades on the same foundation as the other ones that he listed. But again, all of this is about taking rights away from other people, not yourself. So for now, at least, Anna, our marriages should be legal on into the near future. So that's convenient. But buying condoms might soon get you thrown in jail. If you give a blowjob that they don't like, you might end up in jail. We are entering into wild times in America.
Yeah, I mean, it's also, I mean, they're trolling us. It's a sick joke that they reverse Roe v. Wade one day after striking down a gun regulation in New York that would prevent people from, concealed carry in public spaces. So on one hand, they purport to care about human lives. On the other hand, more guns mean more deaths. But hey, they really love their hobby of shooting, so we've got to protect that. No, and everything's on the table. Like, let's not try to hide that or try to sugarcoat it in any way. It's very obvious that these other cases were cited in the reversal of Roe v. Wade to make it clear that these are issues on the table set for reversal. And we'll see if and when it happens. But again, when conservatives tell you who they are, you should believe them because they don't lie. They don't lie about who they are. They tell the truth. The thing that they do lie about is what their intentions are, right? The allegations that they care about human lives. In reality, they don't care about human lives at all. We just experienced a deadly, contagious virus, a terrible pandemic, where they couldn't even be bothered to wear a mask to save lives. How are they going to now turn around and say, oh, I care about life so much. I care about a clump of cells that's not viable outside the womb. I consider that a human life. But when it comes to actual living, breathing human lives, they could not do the bare minimum of putting a piece of fabric or a medical mask over their damn faces. They thought it was too invasive. They thought it was a violation of their personal liberties. Yep. Amazing. Amazing.
No, there has never been hypocrisy to match the hypocrisy that we have had to experience on a daily basis in America over the past few years. You're 100% right. Asking you to, hey, if you wouldn't mind, would you not give a deadly illness to other people around you? Like a lot of people are dying every day. Could you not do that? No, that's government overreach. How dare you tell me to do this?
I can't breathe. Yeah, BS about how they can't breathe. Meanwhile, how about, I know that a lot of right wingers can't be bothered to learn anything about human anatomy, but how about you read a little bit about what happens to a woman's body throughout a 9-month pregnancy? Why don't you read a little bit about how, especially in a country like the United States, how risky it is to undergo childbirth? How many women die as a result of giving birth in a country, in states, by the way, that, especially when it comes to Black women, don't take their pain seriously, don't take their concerns, medical concerns seriously. We have an insanely high, maternal mortality rate, especially in red states, in red states. But who cares? It's not really about human lives. It's about political power. That's it.
100%. And we wanted to get into some of the class and race distinctions. We talked about them previously many times on the show. That definitely is going to be an effect here. Also, look forward in the near future. There are states that have already outlawed it with no consideration for the health of the mother, that sort of thing. There are conditions where an abortion is literally the only thing to save the life of the mother. That happens quite frequently. Those women will be condemned to death. That is, by the way, that already happens in other countries. We've reported on it. There have been countries where they've experienced that. That's here now. There are women who we could save, and we will not because of this now in multiple states. So, be careful about what state you live in. And unfortunately, for a lot of people, you can't just switch states. You can't just move to one of those blue states because it's really expensive and times are really hard. Okay, unfortunately, I know we're gonna have a lot more to say about this in the future, Anna, but I really appreciate you taking time out to join us. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, John.
Always. Okay, we're gonna go to our second break. We come back. Brett Erlich is gonna be rejoining us. We got a lot to talk about. Don't go anywhere. I assumed that Brett would rejoin us with a dragon noise. How's it going, Brett? Thank you for being here. I can't hear you. I think you're muted.
So don't worry, he's framing up. You'll see me when Mark decides. Oh wow, he's fast.
He was very quick with that. He got that very quickly.
How does he do?
I don't know. Okay,
Wizard of
so
Warlock, vote in the chat.
There's a lot of talk about different types of magic users on the show today. Okay, Hannah Hartman in this the members comment saying literally just got a fundraising email from a Democrat while watching this. You're gonna get many more. Ken Zai has been a member for 12 months, says time for the pitchforks and bagel slicers. Also happy to be here. Well, yeah, I don't know. Maybe we can put up that B-roll now. I didn't get to it in terms of time, but they are dispatching the riot squad to protect the Supreme Court. Can we go to that? Is that a thing? You'll see. No, we can't. We can't. Interesting. Oh yeah,
we can't because we're in the social break.
That's true.
Blame that timer for taking up that whatever it is, Emmy or whatever. My bad. That's my fault.
Inside baseball.
It's my fault.
Ernesto has been a member for 17 months, says, ugh, sad day today is experiencing the situation with you guys and the Dragon Squad makes it all right. Agreed, thank you. Zachary just says boycott. I don't know in regards to what. To everything, I guess, thank you. G Skillet says, I think Anna should be allowed to use profanity today. I agree, she was quite, maybe it's a part of the processing it. She was quite collected, I thought. I was actually surprised by that.
Some people come prepared because when they want to drop a F-bomb, they can just bleep their mouth.
That is such a dangerous game you're playing, my friend.
Well, you know what?
How are you
live by the sword, you die by the sword.
Is that your little thing with the buttons? How are you doing that?
I throw my voice because I'm a mother ventriloquist.
Where does he get those amazing toys? I don't remember the exact quote.
Those wonderful toys.
Yeah. Anyway, the Artsy Fartsy Dragon gifted 5 tier 1 subs. Thank you. That of course, and by the way, Artsy Fartsy Dragon hit 16 months, has got COVID, but hey, at least I get to watch live. Hope you feel better soon. So Artsy Fartsy Dragon did that over on Twitch where you can gift subscriptions to people. It's an awesome thing that many people have done. Some people have done it a lot. It's awesome. It's incredible every day. You can also now do that on YouTube. You can gift memberships, which gives people access to the emojis and the badge and a colored name and all that. It helps to grow our community. So awesome every time someone does that. I really appreciate it. Francis the Rogue is at 26 months on Twitch. Star Knight hit 14, says our world is falling apart. My heart is breaking. I'm putting my daughters on birth control and looking into moving to another country. Men control us now. I don't know what state you live in, but yeah.
Let's replace them. Let's replace them with new voters. Move to those states.
We live in such a mess.
So the one thing I want Silicon Valley gajillionaires to do to put their money where their mouth is to get a freaking condo in every one of these states and become a voter. Build affordable housing in each one of those states.
No, that seems like a solution to problems, and we don't do that. By the way, I want to let you know that coming up after our program, of course, you have Indisputable every day, but not every day is Rashad Ritchie joined by Dan Evans. How exciting. Hannah Cox will be on for debate as well. Oh, also, so Dan Evans is a part of Good Morning Bad News on TikTok. It's an awesome channel that you should definitely follow. I have a video with them that's gonna be coming out either tonight or tomorrow morning. So follow them on TikTok and you'll be able to see that when it comes out. It was an awesome experience. I can't wait to see the final product. We'll be right back.
Ow.
We're back at it with the noises. Okay, we're gonna be turning to other news, including, by the way, after our hour break, we're gonna have some lighter news. But don't worry, when we get to the Young Turks, we will once again be diving into different aspects of this. So stay tuned, we will have more to say. And with that said, why don't we jump into this? Lauren Boebert's had a rough couple of weeks. Not only the allegations that have come out against her, that admittedly there has not been a lot of evidence for yet, so bear that in mind as we move forward. But also, she's got a primary coming up on Tuesday. And while there is every reason to believe that she is gonna do just fine, she's raised literally millions of dollars to ward off her far less well-funded Republican challengers, they do have a secret weapon against her, and that is that there are apparently a lot of people crossing over to, I would say, somewhat illegitimately influence that primary. We can disagree about that, but Democratic Party officials in Colorado have now reportedly counted at least 3,700 more unaffiliated voters in the GOP primary this year compared to just 2 years ago. And many of those voters are concentrated in a couple of different counties, which have for a long time been considered very blue areas you'd expect more Democrats. And the New York Times has talked to a lot of these unaffiliated voters, and here's what they have to say. Driven by fears of extremism and worries about what they see as an authoritarianism embodied in Ms. Boebert, thousands of Democrats in the sprawling 3rd Congressional District of Colorado have rushed to shore up her Republican challenger, State Senator Don Coram. Their aim is not to do what is best for Democrats, but to do what they think is best for democracy. And so this is happening in other states too. In fact, the Georgia Secretary of State race, they had 67,000 people who voted in the Democratic primary 2 years ago get involved this time. Well, now in advance of a primary that's coming up in just like 4 days, maybe that could be enough to swing it. Brett, what do you think?
No, but I like the spirit of it. I think that in this,
because I
understand that you don't. And I like that this white stripe between the two of us is not the only border between what we're willing to do. Between who John is and who Brett is. One of them is apparently nationalizing the oil industry, which is psychotic, rather than regulate it.
We'll have a debate at some point.
That's insane. That's crazy. That is
nationalizing as a form of regulation.
That's just a key for the same people to run it with less punity.
Oh, I don't want less punity. Anyway, we'll get into that debate at some point. Let's talk about this now.
But here's the thing. For years and years, this is such the difference between me and John. Okay, for years and years, the Republicans have used loopholes or intentionally either crafted by other people or themselves to essentially get the outcome they want in an election. And it seems that we've identified the farther, the bridge is too far for them to go. And it's when Donald Trump says, I don't care. I don't even need the smallest shred of evidence. I'm going to overturn an election. But in this situation, this is not too dissimilar from what Republicans have done for a very long time. Taken the letter of the law over the spirit of it. Like, the reason for the Electoral College is there were some impracticalities about trying to count all the votes in all the colonies and get it back in a timely manner. So they were just like, screw it, we're gonna do the Electoral College. And that's outdated. But in this situation, the letter of the law allows you to do this. Republicans have been using that to essentially shred at least 3 million votes every presidential election and ignore the will of the people. In this situation, I'm fine with people in this Colorado town who have, I hate to break it to you, not been disenfranchised completely due to gerrymandering. Doing so, using the letter of the law, not the spirit of it, to undermine someone who's trying to undo America systematically for money.
Yeah, and look, they're using the one vote that they have to influence who their representative is. Why does it have to be in their party? Why wouldn't they get to choose? So I think that there is a good case to be made. I'm uncomfortable with it, but I am growing much less uncomfortable with it the more that I think about it.
And John is all about, listen, let's do the right thing.
I try to. although apparently not in some areas because he disagreed with me so vociferously. Anyway, with that said, we'll talk about that more after. Let's jump into another related story. Lauren Boebert for some time has had this restaurant. It is called Shooter's Grill. It is basically like a Hooters parody, but where everyone's got a gun and a lot of the people there have explosive diarrhea. That's what I would generally define her restaurant as being about. Well, maybe not for that much longer. Because as it stands, the landlord of that property has apparently told Lauren Boebert he will revoke the restaurant's lease at the end of August and send Shooters packing. The person familiar with the arrangement said the property manager felt he had a moral imperative to close the business and had planned to lease the space to another restaurant. Now, apparently, this might actually financially be better for her because for a number of years, it had significant losses, 6-figure annual losses, even up as she was becoming very popular in right-wing circles. Struggled to stay afloat even after she was a big national figure. And apparently her husband, who helps to manage it, has been doing a lot of work for other businesses, isn't really invested in it anyway. So losing the restaurant, which apparently is going to happen, that's coming up, is going to look bad for her. I don't know that how involved could she possibly be in it anymore. And according to her employees, she wasn't that involved for several years anyway. I don't think that she cares about that. She has her high profile. She gets paid to speak and all that. So this is embarrassing for her, but it might actually end up helping her financially. Brett, what do you think?
I think she should, no, she's been using that by all accounts, by a lot of reporting to enrich herself. And she's done a lot of terrible financial dealings along the way. And Jesus would hate her for everything that she's ever done, because she is gonna claim that she's a victim in the wake of this. She's trying to say that she values God and guns, even though God would not use a gun. It's just, I'm happy. I'm not above being extraordinarily happy that she's gonna lose this business that she originally started as a way to, you create a family place for kids that has guns in it and people with their boobs hanging out, which just seems counter to all their arguments about Disney and woke culture and family values.
That's a good point. I have no problem with it whatsoever, but she would have to believe that she does. Okay. Also, apparently some of the servers there didn't like having to have guns anyway, which I understand. I was a waiter for multiple years. That's the last thing you need hanging from your belt. That's insane. That's utterly insane, and it shouldn't need to be pointed out. Anyway, with that said, that is all the time we have for our first hour. So if you've been listening on the podcast or one of the linear platforms, thank you so much for that. Especially if you're on the podcast, please rate and review the podcast on Apple Podcasts. That would really help us out in terms of discoverability. But if you're on Twitch or YouTube, the Members app, a number of other platforms, we've got a lot more to talk about, including the garbage people of the week. So don't go anywhere. Brett, Erlich, and I will be back after this. I'm going to attempt to tamp down how mad I am at Brett right now. Something that just happened.
John just did a thing where I asked him a question, he gave me the answer, and then started to answer it for more time than was necessary.
I hadn't explained all of the nuances of why I was so specifically right. You got that I was generally right, but I was more right than you know. Anyway, with that said, I'm gonna try to move on. Like it hurts.
We're all in weird moods today, everybody.
Oh, it hurts that I didn't get to explain all that. Anyway, with that said, we're gonna talk about some more news. And I know what you're thinking. On a day like this, it's gonna be serious, substantive news. It was. No, not anymore, not really. Well, kind of. No, not really. No, we're gonna talk about absolute nonsense because sometimes you need that, okay? Sometimes, more importantly, I need that. So get off my back. I'm gonna read a few of your comments and then we're gonna have a little bit of fun. We'll return to the fight in a few, but some fun. Dennis Schmidt, welcome to your own membership. Thank you for being here. Amanda Hobson's been a member for 18 months on YouTube, says, I'm so heartbroken and angry. The hypocrisy keeps gut punching and leaving us gasping for air. The little faith I have left in this country is with TYT. Thank you. There are a number of other people and groups that deserve your faith. I'm not saying there are a lot, but there are a good number of other ones, but we do appreciate your faith. AJ Heathen's been a tier 2 member for 16 months, says, it's a sad day for America and I have a feeling it's just going to get worse until we get better representatives, better defenders. Yes, probably. Christopher Munden sent in a super chat to say, just scheduled my vasectomy, cheap, effective, and 100% reversible. Surprised they're not a more common form of birth control.
We know.
Are you surprised? Are you surprised?
The reversal.
Yeah.
You know the procedure that reverses it. What it's called.
Snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap.
Snip, snap, snip, snap.
Yeah. By the way, can I point out that, so we've now referenced snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap. Brett, are you consciously aware of the Office reference that you made earlier? That's funny. I do like that.
Which one?
Do you know you were doing a mocking thing, a physical thing to mock someone? Do you know what you were doing?
They're all so instinctive and
you were doing.
primal.
I'll tell you. You were doing.
What?
Can we go to the one shot of me? You were mocking someone by doing Jim impersonating a bed bug. He had this walk. He was so smug. That's what you did.
Whenever I do that, I'm just doing an impression of the kid in the background of that interview where the guy's family all runs in and the wife like runs and tries to get the kid when he's doing the news hit, and the kid walks in like this.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the impression I was doing.
That's funny. Mr. Shadow says, establishment Democrats, Roe v. Wade overturned. We must fight now. Give us your money. Keep us in power today to do more or nothing. To hold a slot that a worse Republican would be in, basically, if I'm being as generous as possible. Yoda says,
They're
Anna,
all
I've been waiting
slots in this Supreme Court. Am I right, ladies?
Anna, I've been waiting on you on TDR so I can share my dragon name inspired by you. I am the Ana Kasparian saying feckless dragon. You always put a little oomph in what you say when you say feckless, and I love it. I love that message, and I apologize for not reading it while Anna was here. Sorry. But yeah, it's the thought that counts. And as you're probably thinking right now, I didn't think this through. Okay, with that said, let's jump into our stories, starting with this.
When you can buy in-game items and sort of make your character stronger or get advantages. Now, I'll confess, when I play some games, I'll sometimes buy it because it is more fun if suddenly your character has a lot more great stuff that would take you 6 months or a year to build up. So sometimes I'll spend $20 and buy a treasure chest full of coins because then I can spend them to get cool things in the game.
So that is an answer from Ted Cruz to the question, is there anything Ted Cruz won't ruin? No, he's going to ruin everything, and today he's coming for games. If you play games, you have the same hobby as Ted Cruz. If you play the sorts of games that have microtransactions and you sometimes purchase little like cosmetic upgrades, or in his case, pay to win stuff. Yeah, he does that too, because he's cool and fun in the same way that we all are. Anyway, he was talking there with one of the Ben Shapiros, I don't know. And he said video games are designed to be addictive. Now, I'm something of a gamer. I'm not a gamer like hardcore Twitch streamers, And why are they the hardest core gamers, the streamers? I mean, it's a part of gaming. They're not more gamers anyway.
He has like a glossary of terms he feels he needs to inject. What's the lexicon of me seeming like a human? What do I have to say that'll make me seem like a person?
And I don't do the massive multiplayer games. I don't like it when you can buy in-game items and sort of make your character stronger or get advantages. Although, as he pointed out in that video, he does like it and does it. And as other people point out, I've never heard Republican economic policy summarized so succinctly. You know, the idea that if you have money, you can and should just do better. Like you'll be better and stronger and more powerful because you had money, that's it. Now, I personally, as a gamer, I don't think I even play games where it is possible to buy performance. I buy skins in League of Legends, I buy cosmetic stuff that doesn't affect the game or whatever. But anyway, Brett, I know that you game. So you and I and Ted Cruz, we should all hang out sometime because we all like the same things.
I produce that show, by the way. I'm the producer on all those right-wing shows. Also, the Marjorie Taylor Greene one, the Ted Cruz verdict one. Ted Cruz is so petty on set when I'm there with him, because obviously I produce that too, that he won't allow himself to be at the same physical level as Michael Knowles. So he made us adjust the mortise, which is what it's called, so that if you look, in that graphic 5, that one, he's just above. He's that petty. And Michael Knowles is actually a rejected Westworld host that wasn't smart enough, who didn't pass the Turing test. Yeah, his micro expressions suck.
Hey, be nicer to him. The dude has to spend time with Ted Cruz for work.
There are 3 Ivy League degrees in those 2 holes in the mortise, by the way. So these guys who pretend to be men of the people are Harvard, Yale, and Princeton. They are not you. They are not your friends. If they were the populists they purport to be, they'd all endorse Fetterman in Pennsylvania. That's the one true test, the one true litmus test. That's how we need to call Tucker Carlson. We need to call all these faux populists out for not rallying around John Fetterman. Why? Because they don't want unions. They don't want people to get equal, the kind of the respect they deserve as blue collar real Americans. They don't want that. They don't want it at all. And so with these 2 here, this is virtue signaling. From it's empty, obvious virtue signaling from Ted Cruz. He wants you to think that he's not about buying your way to some kind of massive advantage, because he wants to signal all that. I'm that guy who's against it, but I do it. This whole thing was in a weird ass attempt to convince people that anything where you get a loot, where there's a drop from a parachute, is somehow gambling.
Loot boxes specifically,
Loot boxes specifically, like pay to win kind of stuff.
Paying money for. Well, I mean, look, the issue, and this is the real reason we want to talk about this. Conversations about loot boxes, whether the loot boxes result in performance improvements or purely cosmetic stuff. I understand that people take that very seriously, and I do think that systems in place to stop kids from draining like their parents' entire like account buying loot boxes are probably a good thing. The idea that they should be banned for everyone, like. I get it. These are clearly designed to addict people. That's all it is. That said, it clearly works on me because I own way too many skins in League of Legends. Stopping adults from purchasing it makes me incredibly uncomfortable. But yeah, this is their like chatty way of pretending to be tied into this. If Ted Cruz is actually a gamer, that actually makes him more representative than the vast majority of Republican senators, to what a lot of people do with their free time. That's almost to his credit, but that's where the credit ends.
Yep, so stupid.
And I just want to point out one more thing, okay? If he gets some credit for being a gamer, I guess. He went on to say, by the way, in this, that he loves the movie Ready Player One. And he said, I've seen it several times, but I just happened to do a rewatch last week. I don't know, I just thought that was. I'm not a fan of when people are really proud of themselves for not enjoying something. So I'm not gonna say like I'm better than him because I didn't like Ready Player One, but it was fine. Weird for that to be the movie that you point out that you're like a super fan of.
If you really want to flex, make a Snow Crash reference, dude.
I've read Snow Crash a couple times actually, so I can.
I'm a Rainbow's End guy.
I didn't read that. That's too long.
The same.
Anyway,
The same.
That's not all the same. Anyway, with that said, we should probably move into our final thing, I'm assuming. Is Sophie that the thing that you want? Okay, so by the way, Sophie, your gift has arrived at the studio. I don't have the box with me. I need to show it off. A member of our audience sent in these amazing flasks with leather embossed dragons and damage report on them, and awesome leather coasters with all these designs in it of multiple different colors, and they're awesome. I'm gonna give full credit on the next show. I apologize, I just don't have it with me. You know, there's been some stuff in the news that's throwing me off. It is an amazing box that they sent in. So, Brett, I'm sure you're gonna want one of those flasks.
I am. I'll come into the studio at some point because there's also some happy half hour
you have
merch
stuff too,
someone sent in. Yeah,
there's stuff for you too. Yeah. So with that said, I'm gonna read a comment or two and then we're gonna jump into this thing. Anna O'Donnell, member for 11 months, says the only acceptable answer for garbage people is SCOTUS. I'm beyond floored by what they've done. I get it. Dennis Schmidt, welcome to Tier 1 membership. Thank you to all the new members. There's been a lot of members signing up recently. We really do appreciate the support. Thank you for being engaged with what's going on in the country. Anna O'Donnell, oh, that was in there twice, but thank you twice. Okay, let's see. Christopher, there's a lot of stuff getting put in twice. Anyway, James Thompson says, John, we call it stonewalling. I'm not sure what that was in a reference to, but thank you for the super chat. I do appreciate that. Nicolette Harati says, love you, John. 10 a.m. couldn't come fast enough to hear your take. Your empathy and humility means so much. Brett, I share your use of jokes to cope. A lot of us do, yeah. Free's been with us for 15 months on Twitch. Thank you. Scarlet Sorcerer just became a subscriber on Twitch. It's an awesome name, by the way. That Ghoul Chick's been here for 3 months. Thank you. Steph Mont has been here for 23. Says, my heart is broken. I honestly don't know how our country can come back from any of this. Roe v. Wade, the things coming out about January 6th. Seriously, the country is screwed. Glad I can share my misery with the Dragon Squad. Thank you. Thank you to Kay, the non-binary dragon, and the Dodo Dragon as well. And with that, we're good to go, right? I was just gonna do it. I should have just done it. It would have been so much slicker. It's the end of the week, and so it's time to take out the trash. A lot of garbage out there. Brett, who did you choose for your garbage person of the week?
My garbage person of the week is Kyle Rittenhouse for the means by which he seeks to find justice in a world where he believes that there has been a miscarriage of it. This is his grave approach. Take a look.
From the very beginning, I did nothing wrong. But that didn't stop the media from smearing my name. It's time to fight back against the fake news machine. This is why I'm launching the Kyle Rittenhouse Fake News Turkey Shoot video game.
So here's what at his website, which I have it's Rittenhouse something. It is a photo.
Doesn't matter.
It's he's doing the turkey shoot game where he is shooting, quote, fake news turkeys, but it does say MSDNC and fake news on it. In a world where Republicans blame kids taking guns and shooting people with them on video games, he is pushing a video game where you go shoot people with guns.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're turkeys and whatever, but we get it. It's the same argument they made. It's a little reminiscent of the positively horrible South Park game that they tried to put on PlayStation 2 or something. But this is my favorite. It says on his website, help raise funds. Kyle's raising funds to sue the left-wing media organizations for defamation, and now you can help. He doesn't need the money by what I understand of reporting on where his funds come from, but still he is trying to sue people. But I just find it positively garbage that there are going to be Republicans supporting this guy when he is pushing a video game, which according to every Republican politician who's pretending it's not their policies that are getting people into more danger, They are all blaming video games. Why are they not blaming Kyle?
That's a good point, yeah. Yeah, so look, the fact that the guy who a lot of people despise because the only reason they know he exists is because he put himself in a position to kill a bunch of people. The fact that he is putting out a game that features him mock killing the media, of course that's all intentional. We all know that. It's designed because like, hey, I'm gonna do this and then the left wing's gonna freak out. No, I wanna be clear, Kyle, if you see this, I'm not freaked out. It's cliched and it's sad and it's predictable. It's not clever in any way. Not offended, I'm not having an emotion. Your life is incredibly sad. Not as sad as perhaps it should be. You should be in prison. You're not, so you've got that going for you. But your life now is, they cart your ass out at a right-wing conference. You wave a little bit, you stumble your way through some prepared remarks. They cheer and then you leave and they forget that you exist again. That's your life. Your life is hoping that Charlie Kirk has you on for a chat for 5 minutes? What sort of life do you think that's gonna be? You better hope they give you a lot of money for this gun because they're going to forget you. And you've put everything into, this is your identity. I'm the guy that killed people and the right wing loves me, so give me money, give me fame. They might have. I thought you would be a bigger deal than you are. They seem to be moving on and that must terrify the hell out of you. My advice to you would be change your name, okay? Go into quasi hiding and then begin the multi-year difficult work of developing something approaching a personality. Do that and you might have a happy life. But this road, this predictable, cliched, pathetic, sad road that you're on, it doesn't defend me. Just like with Charlie Kirk, after I'm done with this segment, I'm gonna go back to forgetting that you exist. It ain't gonna make you happy in the long run, buddy. You're clearly not.
Speaking of Charlie Kirk.
Anyway, my garbage person of the week is the Supreme Court. Now I'm kidding, it should be. Obviously, they're the worst people in the country and supported by people who are arguably just as bad. But I need to have a little bit of fun, so we're gonna mix it up. It is not the Supreme Court. Let's launch into this video.
The more you drive, the more conservative you are. Just look at the truckers. I think that driving requires a form of responsibility. It requires a sense of awareness. What does it cost? Insurance, gas prices. Where public transit, which can be nice in certain circumstances, I don't think is actually ideal. I think that public transit makes you unaware of the costs or the investment of what is required to get you from point A to point B. Where if you own a car in the suburbs or in the rural areas, you are intimately aware and invested in everything. How much does the car cost? How much does it cost to fill up? Now, when you are thinking about costs, you generally end up being a conservative. A good rule for life is the more you care about costs, the less likely you are to be a leftist. A leftist is someone who does not consciously think about what is the cost.
Can someone please call his studio? Because I think there's a carbon monoxide leak. I think he and his staff are in danger. There's something in the air that is melting their brains, Brett.
These are the smart, I love people that I meet. They're like, Charlie Kirk, he's one smart cookie. At this point, they're just trying to see if they can get away with this stupidity. And they're bored. It's your garbage person. You say all the reasons why he's wrong.
Yeah, I'll say, okay, so my reason is, so not the reason, I'm not gonna give you the reason he's a garbage person. It's clear he's an absolute idiot or whatever. And although he's really bad at this and he produces some of the least compelling content on the right, and the bar is not high, it is amazing how little he has to bring to this show. Like, if he has ever wondered, why does Ben Shapiro have more viewers than me? I don't know, watch your show briefly, man. That was just terrible. And by the way, this is part of kind of a series of, I don't want to say thoughts because it's not that, but the idea that you have to drive, and if you drive, you become a conservative, is a similar thought to Charlie Kirk claims tall buildings make people liberal, which I swear was not produced by an AI chatbot. That's a thing that he said too. If we could bring up the screenshot, you'll see. And he says, I believe we need to build horizontally, not vertically. It's one of my speeches. Developers don't like it when I say this, but it's true. The higher the building, the more liberal the voter. It just is. And then I think he laid down on the stage and went to sleep. I don't know what happened after that. They're not sending their best.
They're just trying to see if they can get away with it. You see it on Tucker too. He like when he puts together things, they're just trying to see how much they can snow their already snow white base. Like, Charlie, what if I told you that the people who drive cars have more money? And most people who take public transportation are doing so because they are wildly aware of the cost of things. And they have to be. And they have to mind how much they're spending on things. So they take the less expensive mode of transportation. For other people in New York City, like it makes more sense to take the subway than it does to drive places. You total doink. Maybe it is the case that the more conservative you are, it's because you can silo yourself off from everyone else. And you don't have to, the richer you are, the more money you have, you can buy luxuries that mean you don't have to interact with other people. You don't have to empathize, you don't have to do squat, except, and you, Charlie, you're accepting millions and millions of dollars from reports I've read to say this stuff, to just see if you can get away with it. To propagandize and to groom America's youth. That's what Turning Point is. It is a grooming mechanism to turn otherwise empathetic, innocent children into scum-sucking vampire conservatives.
That's what it is. Yep. Yeah, he is there to, like so many people on the right, he is there to ruin people that are either like him or that they pretend to. He's not a college kid, he's older or whatever, but he's supposed to pretend to still be with college or whatever. I don't know. I'm saying that he's older. I don't know why they keep pretending that he has anything to do with college, but that's the group that he's supposed to ruin. And so that's what he's doing. He's bringing basically nothing to the table in terms of an argument. Although, as you pointed out, both of his cases with the buildings and with the transportation is a preference for not being with other people. That is definitely the case. Anyway, that's my garbage person. Now let's turn to your garbage person. 32,000 of you voted, and your number 5 this week with 5% of the vote is the Maine Insurance Agency for their racist Juneteenth sign. Coming in at number 4 with 11% of the vote is Ron Johnson for pretending to take a call to avoid reporters. Number 3 with 17% of the vote is Marjorie Greene for telling a reporter to go back to where she came from. That was a fun one. Number 2 with 26% of the vote is Eric Greitens for his rhino hunting political ad. Was that this week? Jesus, a lot happens in a week. But your garbage person of the week with 40% of the vote is the Texas GOP for going full on MAGA at their convention where they did just all of the bad things. Thank you to all of you who voted. We really do appreciate it. Thank you, Brett, for being such a trooper and so flexible today. We do appreciate it.
Thank you. And Game Busters tonight, we're just gonna play some Jackbox.
Nice.
Hang out, play with us, take the load off. And Dana Manning, there's something wrong with your computer. You can't participate because you're not allowed to beat me in trivia.
Awesome. For all of you at home, thank you for joining us today and throughout the week. We're going to need each other in the near future, so we're very glad to have you here. You can watch Indisputable up next. I will be on the first hour of the Young Turks. Ana Kasparian will be joining us for that as well. So stay tuned for that. For now, though, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and I'll see you soon.